Welcome back to Uncivil Law. Today, we're diving into a story that's part Law and Order, part Ozark, and all kinds of crazy. Welcome back to Dolton, Illinois, where the deputy police chief is facing more charges than their mayor's shopaholic credit card. The state's comptroller is playing hardball with the whole town's allowance, and the mayor herself, well, let's just say that she's in a league of her own. Let's start with our main character for today's story, Deputy Police Chief Louis Lacy. Now, when you think about a top cop, you would think all about law and order, right? Well, apparently Lacy thought law was more of a suggestion when it came to his personal finances. Lacy has been indicted on federal bankruptcy fraud charges. That's right, folks. The man charged in this town with protecting and serving allegedly couldn't protect his own wallet or serve up honest financial statements. The charges claim that he was hiding assets and income from creditors faster than a magician making coins disappear. But unlike a magic show, the only thing that's vanished here is Lacy's credibility. Now, you might be wondering, what kind of assets could a deputy police chief be hiding? Well, we don't have all the details yet, but I'm picturing a basement full of confiscated evidence and a garage stuffed with lost and found items. No, Your Honor, I have no idea how that solid gold statue of a bald eagle ended up in my living room. Must have flown through an open window. But wait, there's more. Lacy isn't just accused of hiding assets. He allegedly took steps to prevent paying more than $40,000 in a lawsuit settlement. That's right, a man sworn to uphold the law was allegedly trying to dodge legal obligations. It's like a firefighter setting his own house on fire for the insurance money. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife, or maybe one of those assets Lacy was supposedly hiding. Now, in most towns, having your deputy police chief being indicted would be the biggest news of the year. But when it comes to Dolton, it isn't most towns. Enter our second character for today's municipal drama, the Illinois State Comptroller, Suzanne Mendoza. Mendoza has taken a look at Dolton's city financial reports and apparently decided the reports are about as real as a $3 bill. Her response? She suspended all offset funds to Dolton. For those of you who don't speak bureaucrat, offset funds are the monies collected from state payments that the comptroller's office withholds from people who owe fines or other payments to municipalities. Long story short, the comptroller of the state has basically put the entire town of Dolton in a timeout. It's like when your parents cut off your allowance, except in this case, allowance means money needed to run the entire town. Ouch. Why such a drastic move? Well, it turns out Dolton hasn't exactly been submitting those required annual reports, including financial statements, audits, and tax increment financing district reports for 2 years. 2 years! That's not just dropping the ball, that's dropping the ball, setting it on fire, and then pretending the ball never existed in the first place. The state comptroller Mendoza didn't mince words about the situation. She said, and I quote, "Dolton is different. The mayor's office has refused to communicate with us or address the problem." Ooh, sick burn. She just basically told the entire town, it's not me, it's you. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Remember our friend we discussed a few moments ago, Lacy? Well, despite being indicted on federal charges, he apparently still wants to show up to work. That's right, the man that was facing bankruptcy charge still wants to be in charge of, enforcing the law. It's like putting the fox in charge of the henhouse if the fox was also being investigated by the FBI. The village trustees tried to put Lacy on administrative leave, but leave it to Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, in a move that screams great judgment, told the police to keep following Lacy's orders anyway, and threatened if they didn't, they'd all be charged with insubordination. Because nothing says functioning government like telling your police force to take orders from a guy under federal indictment, right? Speaking of Mayor Henyard, let's take a quick detour to remind you about Her Honor, the so-called Super Mayor of Dolton. If you think the police chief Lacy's story is wild, the story about the mayor just gets more absurd with every passing moment. Tiffany Henyard burst onto Dolton's political scene in 2021 like a glitter bomb at a librarian's convention. She quickly earned the name Super Mayor, not for her heroic deeds, mind you, but for her supersized salary and even bigger controversies. First off, in a town where the median income hovers somewhere around $25,000 a year, Henyard's salary is somehow a combined salary of nearly $300,000. That's right, folks. In Dolton, the mayor somehow makes more than the governor of Illinois. It would be like if your local dog catcher suddenly started making more than a championship breeder. But hey, running a town of 20,000 people is hard work, right? All those ribbons don't cut themselves. But Mayor Henyard's not content with just making bank. Oh no, she's got to look the part too. She reportedly spent over $7,000 on a stylist in just 2 months. Because when you're busy running a town into the ground, you need to look fabulous while doing it. Because after all, nothing screams fiscal responsibility like dropping more on your appearance than most of your town's residents make in 3 months. And let's not forget the super mayor's piece de resistance, the golden microphone she uses at town meetings. Because nothing says woman of the people like speaking into a microphone that looks like it costs more than most people's cars. It's as if King Midas somehow became the mayor's personal benefactor. But Mayor Henyard's real talent seems to be in the creative accounting department. Under her leadership, Dolton's general fund went from a $5.6 million surplus to a $3.6 million deficit in just 2 years. That is a $9 million swing, folks. It's like she took one look at the town's successful finances and said, geez, how can I run this into the ground as fast as possible? And who couldn't forget the Amazon shopping spree? In January 2023, Henyard allegedly spent more than $33,000 on Amazon using the village's credit card. What was she doing? Was she buying gold-plated staplers for every office in town? A lifetime supply of mayor-branded energy drinks? The world's largest collection on how to run a town for dummy books? The world may never know for sure. But one thing we do know, Jeff Bezos probably sent her a thank you note and a fruit basket. So with this increasingly colorful cast of characters running the show, is it any wonder that Comptroller Mendoza decided to pull the plug on Dolton's funds? It's like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the car is made of taxpayer dollars and the driver is wearing designer shoes. But before we forget, let's get back to the main character of today's story, Deputy Chief Lacy and his legal troubles. The entire police department seems to be in open revolt against him. A supermajority of Dolton's own police officers voted no confidence in Lacy. It's like getting that 1-star review on Yelp, but instead of bad service, it's about alleged corruption. I'm sure that's going to make for some really fun office Christmas parties. And here's the kicker. Despite the indictment, despite the vote of no confidence, despite the whole town's finances being put in timeout by the state, Mayor Henyard is backing Lacy. It's like watching the world's worst game of musical chairs where the music has clearly stopped, but Henyard is insisting everyone keep dancing. So what can we learn from this whole debacle? Well, for one, if you're going to commit bankruptcy fraud, maybe don't do it while you're the deputy police chief of a town that's already in financial hot water. And if you're running that town, maybe you should submit financial reports once in a while. Just some food for thought. As for State Comptroller Mendoza, she's basically the mom who came home early, caught the kids throwing a party, and grounded the whole house. Is it a little harsh? Maybe, but when your town's finances are messier than a toddler's art project, sometimes a little tough love is necessary. As we wrap up this increasingly wild ride through the Dolton den of alleged corruption and fiscal responsibility, I'd like to leave you with 3 questions to ponder. If you were a police officer in Dolton, would you rather take orders from the Deputy Chief Lacy or from a magic 8-ball? Do you think the Comptroller Mendoza's actions are justified, or should she give Dolton a chance to explain why the dog ate their homework for 2 years straight? If Dolton were to create a new town motto based on recent events, what should it be? Drop your thoughts on these critical questions below, and let's keep this conversation going. And remember, the next time you think your local government is a mess, just be grateful you're not in Dolton, where the deputy police chief is fighting bankruptcy, the mayor thinks a golden microphone is a sound investment, and the state comptroller has had to put the whole town in a financial timeout. Until next time, I've been Uncivil Law, and remember to keep it uncivil out there.